And now, the survival show that once survived making a drunk episode you'll probably never hear. In this episode, we sit down with Dan from WTF Biathlon. He's going to teach us all about running with guns and maybe scissors. Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 201. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Dan, welcome to In the Rabbit Hole.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You are you are the founder of Waco Tactical Fitness, which also the WTF. Let's start there with what is Waco Tactical Fitness?
I do have, there is a co-founder, my partner Kevin Grab, and Waco Tactical Fitness was basically formed as a not-for-profit. We're a 501c3 charitable organization. And our mission statement is to raise money and to help and support the shooting sports, especially youth activities in the shooting sports here in Texas.
So y'all do an annual biathlon. Is it an annual biathlon or is it more often than that?
We are having our second one here in April, so it'll be spring and fall twice a year.
Oh, okay. Very cool. And what's the story? Where was the genesis of this?
The biathlon concept has been around for a pretty long time, maybe about 15 years. It was first started by the guys out in Pecos. And the idea behind it is that there are a lot of shooting sports that involve marksmanship. These include 2-gun, 3-gun, high power, etc., where they can be challenging in a lot of cases, especially in 2-gun and 3-gun. There can be some movement involved. But in all these cases, you're starting out with all your gear and equipment staged and ready to go, and you're in a state where your body is rested and fresh. And what the Pecos guys imagined at one point along the way was, hey, it'd be a lot harder to do all this if you just had to hump your equipment for a couple of miles. And they said, hey, that's a great idea. Maybe we should make people hump their equipment for a couple of miles and then shoot. So they started running events out there. And then a few other people started their own events here and there that popped up, including Battle Road USA, which ran a number of successful events over a few years. And that was my first exposure to a running gun. So I went to my first running gun in October of 2014, and it was there at the Battle Road. And I had no real marksmanship experience, especially with a rifle. I'd taken some pistol classes and almost zero rifle experience. But I thought, hey, what the heck? This sounds like a good time. Mm-hmm. So I went out there. It poured for about 2 days before the event and during the event. God. It was muddy and it was a mess. Uh-huh. And, I couldn't see anything. So there's steam coming off my barrel the whole time because it was wet. And, it was basically a total disaster for me. It was super fun. But I came away from that, really understanding how much I needed to learn and what I needed to improve about my gear and, myself and everything. So, the idea behind these things is to put people and their equipment in an environment in which they will be tested. So everyone has these ideas of, oh yeah, if the balloon goes up, I'm going to put on this pack and I'm going to put on this holster and I'm going to go run up in the woods and whatever. But first they've got to remove the tag and the saran wrap cap, thing on it. But you might want to try it first before the balloon goes up. So, look, after my first run, I looked at my entire kit and was like, everything has to go. I had a holster sliding around on my belt. I had, stuff flying and flopping all around. If you've ever tried to run with a lot of heavy stuff flopping around in your body, you'll know it's not a good time. Yeah. So, everything's got to be pretty much battened down. So it's a good experience. And you can learn about trying to shoot in unconventional positions and having to use your brain in the heat of the moment. So, for example, they had a stage there where you had to shoot underneath a van, but the way the van tires were like deflated or whatever. So you couldn't have your rifle oriented in the typical place where you'd have the magazine on the ground and you'd look through your scope, because if you look through your scope, you're going to see the car. Mm-hmm. So you had to figure out sort of on the fly, I need to change sideways. Well, how do I shoot sideways? Where do I aim? What does that do to the trajectory of my bullet? And all this is happening while you're on the clock. So it exposes you to a lot of things that you might not have considered before, both, with your fitness, with your gear, and also, with what you understand about how all your weapons work. So I thought it was awesome. And, I was looking forward to going back again the following fall, but unfortunately that event was canceled due to the death of the founder, Michael Adam there. So they shut that down.
Yeah, and listeners would know Michael Adam as Scout. Had been on the show a few times to talk to listeners about Project Appleseed, and then went on to do Battle Road. So that is pretty interesting, and it's before Scout's passing. He had harassed me a few times to come out and run it, and I hadn't done it, unfortunately. So was it about picking up the baton from Battle Road and Scout and Mark and all that, and carrying it on and continuing it, or was it a different idea for y'all?
Yeah, you know what? That was a big part of it for us. So, the loss of that event and of Scout, of course, in Central Texas it was a big loss for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge level of interest that carried over from the Battle Road days for additional biathlons. And people were going far and wide to participate in races up in Oklahoma and way out in Western Texas. And a lot of those people were coming from Central Texas to do those things. So, we knew that there was definitely some demand there, right? And we really felt that, in addition to just kind of like from a business perspective of demand is good for business, we really felt that this kind of training is designed to inspire people to improve, right? And we want to have people improve. And I mean, I'm a Project Appleseed instructor. My partner Kevin is a Project Appleseed instructor. That's how we met. Mm. And most of our range officers are Project Appleseed instructors. And the whole point about why we continue to go to these events and train people is to inspire people to improve. Right. The saying around Appleseed is riflemen persist. Mm-hmm. Right. And you keep trying to get better and better and better. There are a lot of people who think they're pretty squared away when it comes to all their equipment and their training or whatever. But this is a great opportunity to prove it or to find weaknesses in areas to improve. There are a lot of good reasons why we wanted to do it, but a big part of it was the social aspect as well. Scouts events brought people together from all over the place, and that community, we wanted to put another place together where that community could coalesce. So a lot of it was done to carry the baton, as you said, and carry on Michael's vision. Also, the other aspect of it was we saw it as an opportunity to raise money for shooting in Central Texas and for youth shooting especially. So a lot of the money that we raise goes toward things like buying rifles and ammunition to use at Project Appleseed events if people show up and they don't have rifles or they can't get their hands on ammo. And we have stuff that we can lend or we can give them. The biggest hurdle to doing these kinds of things is finding a piece of property that you can operate on.
Yeah.
So Kevin's got a good friend that is also part of WTF. And this guy, Stan, has a 300-acre ranch that he uses right now for a lot of shooting. And he also have cows grazing around there. But he does everything from close range stuff out to 1,000-yard matches. And that's also the practice facility for the junior high power team in Central Texas. Yeah. So Kevin's been involved with junior high power forever, and he supports that mission. And we thought, well, this would be a great way for us to raise additional funds to use toward helping out the junior high power team as well as Project Appleseed and just promoting youth marksmanship in general. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of why we went the direction of, hey, well, why don't we just make this a not-for-profit? We'll take ourselves out of the equation. This isn't a moneymaker for us. This is just really a vehicle for us to raise money, as well as, like I said, there's a ton of positive benefits of just, having the event exist in at all, right?
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. And that was going to be one of my questions is, where does the money go? I mean, that's pretty freaking awesome that's where the money goes is for supplying shooters both with junior high power and Project Appleseed with rifles. And I guess that is a funny thing because, I remember that was right about the time I wasn't able to spend as much time with Appleseed as I wanted to, was right about the time that the 22 ammo crunch really started. And I kept wondering how the 22 ammo shortage had impacted Appleseed. And just when Scout and I would talk, it was very brief and it was usually just a quick exchange about one thing or another. And so we didn't get a chance to get into long conversations. But I was curious about that. And I guess that is still a problem. How has 22 ammo, the shortage, impacted Appleseed? As a quick aside.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, sure. It's, it was a huge pain during the height of the shortage, which I guess was mostly, around 2013, 2014. It was really hard to find ammo. I know that a number of the events went to an abbreviated shoot protocol. So instead of it being, 10 rounds per iteration, they'd go to 5. So you'd shoot half as many rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped a little bit. It's come back a lot. I don't think anyone's having any trouble getting ammunition right now. Maybe you don't get the exact brand that you want every time, but it's on store shelves, at all the big box stores. They've got ammo now. But we do participate in a couple of the major manufacturers have these youth programs where you can buy bulk ammo from them at a discount, with the stipulation being that it's meant to be given away to youth shooting sports. So we buy a whole bunch of the stuff and we keep it on hand there at our, for our events. And we have, not to go too far on the side here, but there is an organization similar to a scouting organization that comes down and spends a weekend with us at Central Texas Rifle and Pistol outside of Waco for a Project Appleseed event every November. And then we get about 50 shooters on the line. They're all kids. And we just break open these huge boxes of ammo and we give them the ammo.
Oh, that's really
one of the
nice.
things that we do with that money.
Okay, very cool. So to take it back to the WTF Biathlon, which I love the name, by the way. It's time for a quick break. Listener, do you get at least $3 of value out of ITRH every month? We'd love to give you more. Visit itrh.net to find out about membership benefits. You see, In the Rabbit Hole is supported nearly entirely by listeners just like you. Yes, that is how we keep the lights on and pay the bills around here. Again, visit itrh.net today to find out about becoming part of the ITRH Roving Horde Armada and getting membership benefits. Again, that's itrh.net. Now back to the show. So to take it back to the WTF Biathlon, which I love the name, by the way. Was it intentional? So when y'all named it Waco Tactical Fitness, did y'all realize that it spelled WTF, or was that just a happy accident?
That was intentionally reverse engineered. We basically already had the logo picked out and worked out, and I was like, all right, I know we want to have the word Waco in there somewhere because it's just, so evocative, but and I was like, where am I going to get a T and an F? And we were just kind of hanging around trying to figure it out, and we came up with Tactical Fitness.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. So let's get into the biathlon. Describe it for listeners who never, you show up on the first day. What happens? What is this event like? Let's really get into the detail here. Sure.
So the way it works is, depending on the distance, and there are various different biathlons with different distances, our sort of signature event, which is the Saturday biathlon, it's 5 miles. So you need to come prepared to move your body from point A to point B, and that distance is 5 miles. So it works like a race, like a cross-country race, except that the runners are staggered from the beginning, so that we release a runner from the start time from the starting line about every 5 minutes or so. And the reason why we do that is to create distance between the runners so that when they arrive at a shooting stage, of which there are about 7, there's not a huge traffic jam there, right? You don't want to get there because the shooting stations are natural bottlenecks because only one runner can go through it at a time. So if 20 people show up all at once, the guys at the back of that group are going to be waiting a pretty long time. So we try our best to avoid that. So you're released every 5 or so minutes, and you've got your rifle, you've got your pistol, you've got all the ammunition you think you're going to need for the day, as well as anything else you'd like to carry. So recommended pieces of equipment would include some kind of hydration. It's good to have some water on board. If it's a really short race, maybe you don't need as much or any, but, especially if you've never done it before, you're likely to get thirsty out there. So I'd recommend bringing some. But other than that, some guys bring med kits, some guys don't. Some guys wear plates because they're crazy. Some guys don't. So, most people try to keep their kits as light and loose as as light as they can, right, within the bounds of not running out of ammunition. So we publish the round count ahead of time, so you'll know you need to have 65 rounds of rifle and say 40 rounds of pistol, assuming you never ever miss, because the shoot stages are unlimited by round count, but they are limited by time. So, you can shoot extras, and so what we normally recommend is that you double the round count and round up, and that's what you carry. So, in our October event for me, we had I think it was around 65 rounds of rifle required. I carried 150 rounds of rifle. So I just carried 5 PMags, makes it easy. I think we needed 40 rounds of pistol. I carried 80, but I lost a full mag along the way. So I really only had 60. And when I was done with the event, I had probably 2 or 3 rounds left on board. So that was kind of a squeaker.
So it is pistol and rifle?
Yes.
So what are the courses like? What are the courses of fire like?
There are 7 of them along the way, and some require rifle, some require pistol, some require both. And they're all designed to be sort of like, a 3-gun or IDPA type of stage, but all targets are steel. So it's not like at the end of the stage you've got to go over and count holes in cardboard or whatever. If you hear a ding, you hit the thing you were shooting at, and you can move on to the next thing to shoot at. So that makes it instant feedback for everybody, including makes it a lot easier for the ROs. Most of the stages are designed in a way where a really good shooter should be able to finish them in around a minute. And we do that in order to prevent traffic jams, right? So if the stages took 20 minutes and we only release the runners every 5 minutes, naturally we're going to have a problem. So we try to keep it pretty close to a minute to a minute and a half for a good shooter, with a 3-minute par time typically. So if you're still shooting after 3 minutes, the ROs will cut you off and you will have not finished. It's a DNF, did not finish. So that's also good because it saves you from running out all your ammo. If you're still shooting after 3 minutes, it's probably a problem. So they are designed to be physically demanding and require you to shoot in unusual positions. So when you go to the range, you're basically standing at the end of a hallway and your target is at the other end of a hallway and nobody's moving.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to sit there and squeeze off a couple of nice center mass hits, right? However, we use stuff like tires or pallets, those wood pallets that we kick some of the slats out of, whatever natural stuff is around, bushes, terrain, to require you to do stuff like, shoot prone with a pistol, or shoot kneeling, or shoot around stuff, shoot at different size targets. We may start incorporating some moving targets at some point if we can figure out how to make that work. And your body's moving. So you've got to be at one position and then run over to another position and shoot from there, and then run over to another position and shoot from there. So all these things are designed to make it a little bit more real world than what you'd find at a typical, marksmanship range or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like the main objective to be physically demanding, to really test people's gear and to, I guess, show them a real world reality of what it's like. Should the balloon actually go up, and just to test your skills. Is that accurate?
No one's shooting back at you.
Right.
So that's nice. But yeah, that's the idea. And, the pistol stages are typically not longer than about 25 yards or so. And the rifle stages do test you, though. We had rifle stages from close in, call it like under 100 yards, out to about 500 yards. So, you need to know what your holdovers are. You need to know what your rifle's going to do at different distances and your ammo and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the idea is to make it interesting. We had a drag dummy incorporated into one of the stages, so that in case your heart rate wasn't elevated when you got there, we made sure to get it elevated for you. So we were nice like that.
That was swell.
And the drag dummy weighed about we try to think of everything. Drag dummy weighed about 125 pounds, and so you'd have to, on that particular stage, which was our stage 3, you'd shoot with a rifle at 50 yards or so, a couple targets, and safety on, run over to a barricade where your guy, who's the drag dummy, was down near this barricade. You had to shoot through the barricade, which was kind of uncomfortable because you had to scrunch down and shoot through this hole, and then actually hand off your rifle to a range officer, safe it first, and hand it to a range officer. So you're not dragging the dummy with your rifle, flopping all around. Drag the dummy to the next spot, shoot with your pistol, actually, in a really uncomfortable sort of scenario where you're underneath stuff and there's like a pallet in front of you and it's hard to shoot through it. Do that a few times. And then over the top of that barricade, shoot at a target that was over 300 yards away, again with your rifle. Give the rifle back to the RO, drag the dummy some more, and then shoot some more with the rifle. Again, it's to introduce not only time stress, but physical stress in some of these shooting stages where we could. We couldn't do it in every stage. There were some where, you're going to just shoot and move from place to place. But there was another one where on the clock, you had to climb up a tree, get into a stable shooting position, and then load, make your rifle hot, shoot, and you were up in a tree. So that was kind of fun.
That explains a Facebook picture from a mutual friend, and I was trying to figure out why the hell that crazy bastard was in a tree shooting, and now I actually understand what that picture was all about. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so that stage in particular, the tree stage, was designed, kind of from our Appleseed background. There was a marksman in the Revolutionary War called Timothy Murphy, and he rode with Daniel Morgan and the sharpshooters. And at the Second Battle of Saratoga, he was tasked with eliminating the commanding officer of the British forces from a pretty good distance. And so in order to get a good shot at the guy, he actually did go up a tree. And it took him a few rounds, but he got him. And then that guy's aide-de-camp was on his way over with orders, and he got that guy too. So in honor of Timothy Murphy taking out 2 British officers from up in a tree, we built a stage where he had to go up in a tree and take out two steel targets at medium distance.
Medium distance being
200 to 300 yards.
Which is still that's a healthy distance, and that's probably further than most people can actually even shoot, especially if they haven't been through Appleseed. So is there a commonality as far as like rifles go? Is there do crazy people come out there with 50s, or is pretty much everybody in the 5.56 or 308 range? Where does the gear end up landing?
So just due to weight limitations, the ease of operation, and the weight of the actual ammunition, most people go with an AR platform.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just, you can carry 2 rounds of AR for every round of 308 weight-wise, right? Just about.
Yeah. So there's nobody running around with Garands or anything like that.
No, we get those guys too. But most people are in the AR/9mm camp.
Uh-huh.
But yes, we get a lot of 308s. We have guys with SCARs. We have guys with FALs. We have guys with Garands. I've seen at various events bolt-operated Springfield 03s. I've seen a variety of bolt guns, actually. Definitely a core group of Garand fanatics.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually did have one guy carry a 50 in October.
Crap.
Unfortunately, we didn't know about that ahead of time, that he was carrying a 50. I knew he was carrying something big, but he never actually told me what it was. And we couldn't shoot the targets with this thing.
Yeah.
It would have blown them all up, and that would have pretty much ended the day for everybody else. So I actually gave him my rifle to finish the race with.
Oh, that was nice of you. When you said foul, I was thinking, man, 5 miles with a foul, that's bad enough. But then some maniac comes out there with a 50. That's interesting. So what, there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of moving parts, and this is a big course. How do y'all address safety? That's got to be tricky.
We address it diligently, I guess, is the best answer.
Uh-huh.
So we did a lot of walking around out there on the property, and the property's not like a big cornfield that's mowed down. It's the terrain itself, and the property has a lot of variance to it. So there are hills, there are woods. The northern border of the property is actually a significant creek. It looks like a small river, and it's got a steep canyon associated with it. So, there are rock ledges, there's all kinds of stuff. And there are man-made berms on this property as well, because it's used for shooting. So we did our best to kind of leverage all that. And we set up all the stages. We looked at a lot of maps. We kind of went around and pinpointed where we thought we could be and what direction we thought we could shoot in, and making sure that the runners were always behind the bullets, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one exception being, at some point, the runners are on the northern boundary of the property, and all the shooting is happening south to north. So all the bullets are headed north, and the shooters are on the north side of the property. So that sounds bad, except that they're down in that river canyon. So they're basically in a giant trench, and it's like 20 feet high on the side of the world where the bullets are coming from. And there's a whole bunch of intermediate stuff in between there anyway. So if a bullet somehow managed to get through everything that was out there and high enough, it would still sail right over everybody's head, because you're 20 feet down in this trench.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like something Luke Skywalker would fly through. It's really neat.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
So you're down there. We also, after we set it all up, we used satellite maps a lot, and I was on there like drawing firing vectors and all kinds of stuff. And then we even got a drone out there, and we had the guy fly the drone from each firing point in the direction of fire for a long way, and made sure that as we looked down, that there was nothing underneath there that we didn't want to hit.
Oh, wow. Okay. So y'all were very diligent, it sounds like, about making sure that there wasn't the potential for accidents, or you've mitigated as much as you can humanly.
Absolutely. And of course, we use very experienced range officers. We're very happy to have the support and help of a lot of more experienced event operators. And there is a core cadre of range officers that does volunteer at a lot of these events. So we made sure that we had experienced range officers at all the shooting stations. And, a lot of these guys are also Project Appleseed instructors. So, I know them personally. And we were able to maintain safety, the traditional way as well, with hands on the shooters. And also, like many of these events, we run with the rifles cold. So the rifle is unloaded, and the pistols can be hot, but they need to be kept in a retention holster, or at least a holster with good retention that covers the trigger guard.
Mm-hmm.
And the rifles are only loaded on the fire command at a rifle stage, and then they're unloaded and cleared before the runner's allowed to go to the next stage. And at every stage, on the way in, rifles are checked, and on the way out, rifles are checked. So we make 100% sure that nobody is in between shooting stages with a loaded rifle.
So are kids involved in this, or is there an age cutoff? Where does that land?
Yeah, it's mostly adults.
Mm-hmm.
If there are kids, we do get the occasional, upper teenager. Generally, we'll have those people run with their parents or a parent, guardian, or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We don't usually have kids out there kind of loose. We didn't have any kids this past time. We will have a few coming up here. Most of them are registered in the Sunday Sprint. So we have this Saturday is the big 5-mile biathlon. We also have what we call a Sunday Sprint, which is a 3.5-mile version of the event where we take out some of the distance. We take out one of the shooting stages, and we also we kind of make some of the shooting stages a little easier as well. So if there were particular targets that were killing people on Saturday, we'll remove those for Sunday or move them closer.
Okay.
So the Sunday Sprint is a really good way to kind of get introduced to the sport, where you're not carrying as much gear, you're not carrying as much ammo, everything's a little bit easier. And so kids tend to get signed up for that. So what's not unusual is that, dad will sign up for Saturday, and then dad and kid will sign up for Sunday.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's pretty cool. So in a way, it's kind of like Appleseed.
Yeah, we're in favor of having people come and participate as long as they're safe and the necessary protocols are in place. So if a 10-year-old wants to compete, technically I'm okay with that as long as his parent is by his side the whole time and making sure that everything's good to go and they listen to the instructions of the range officers. And I don't care if you're 10 or 50. If you don't listen to the ROs, you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another rule that's pretty common to all of these types of events. Is if you start getting cute with the ROs, you're going to get tossed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good policy to have. So what is the future like? So you guys have these events that you said you're doing it twice a year at this point. What is the blue sky here? Where do your hopes and dreams take you for this event?
That's a question that we're grappling with kind of every day. So there are a few things going on. So in the short term, again, our goal is to inspire people to improve their preparedness, whatever that means, right? That might mean gear, that might mean training, that might mean fitness. So we want people to become better, right? Whatever they think better is. And so hopefully people are coming to our events and then going home going, man, I need to run more. Or, man, I couldn't get over the 8-foot wall that they stuck out there in the middle of the course, and I'm a little upset about that. So, I need to do a ton of pull-ups or whatever the thing is that you think you need to do based on the information that you've gathered from your experience at our course. So I really hope people are getting in shape. And so that's item one. Is I'm sure, having a background in preparedness, I'm sure like if you can't get somewhere, you're no use to anybody. Mm-hmm. So you need to be in some kind of shape. So that's one part of it. Another part is we have partnered with, and we'll probably continue to partner with additional marksmanship training people. So right now we have a partnership going with an outfit called Tactical Fitness Austin, which happened to start around the same time we did. And the reason I found them was because, the similarities between Waco Tactical Fitness and Tactical Fitness Austin. I was like, wait, who are these guys? And they happened to start around the same time we did. And I reached out to them, and they were generous enough to contribute to our prize table for our October race. And we're working on a little bit of a joint venture with them where their founder, this guy, Ron, is a former Israeli Defense Forces special operator and sniper, and is a very, very experienced Krav Maga instructor. So he has a kind of a unique class where he'll teach a 2-day combination of Krav Maga and CQB pistol. So, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, if I see a bad guy, I'm going to draw from my concealed thing, and I work on this all the time. But, what if you're carrying a shopping bag through a parking lot somewhere and you've got a kid in your other hand and some guy jumps you? Then what are you going to do?
Right.
So this kind of answers that question of how do you create distance? How do you disable your attacker? How do you get your way out of whatever situation you're in where you may not have enough room around you to draw or enough time? So we're actually having an event with where we're hosting at the ranch that we use for our WTF events. This guy Ron's going to come up from Austin and teach a 2-day, and that's going to be February 11th, that weekend. So spots are still available.
When is y'all's next event?
So that's the next event. The next biathlon is the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already sold out for Saturday. We sold 100 tickets for Saturday. That's sold out.
Oh, wow.
And we're about halfway sold on Sunday. So there's definitely room for the Sunday sprint. And, I think that people should come out and do that. And even if you're an experienced shooter, the sprint, it's not like baby steps. I mean, it's a good intro for people who haven't done it before, just due to the fact that you don't have to carry as much stuff as far.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, we had some serious competitors out there last year because it was called a sprint and these guys sprinted. I mean, I've seen people move fast. There were guys flying out there on this course because, you're not carrying as much stuff. And these guys were real runners. The guys looked like deer out there. I mean, they were throwing up times like I was shaking my head going, oh man, some fast guys on this course. And so it's not a joke. There are various people have written AARs about the Sunday sprint, but one of the guys mentioned that, this wall was still out there and one of the competitors managed to injure his shoulder trying to get over the wall and actually wound up dislocating it. And a medic popped his shoulder back in and the guy finished the course. So wow. That was pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And I guess it was a pre-existing injury because it wasn't like he fell or anything. But anyways, the Sunday sprint it's challenging, but it's it's kind of more accessible. Mm-hmm. But it's what you make it, right? Any of these things would be. If the race were 30 miles long, and you only walked, it would be a drag, but you're only walking, right? If it's 3 miles long and you sprint the whole way, it's going to hurt. Yeah. So it's based on what you make of it. I try myself as I compete in these to try to run as much of the course as I can. And you don't have to run fast, but if you're not walking and you're carrying 25 pounds of gear, that's pretty good. Yeah. And it hurts no matter how far it is. So what is the cost? It's $100. Okay. And is it $100 for either day? Yes. Okay. And that includes a T-shirt, and we have prizes. So we've been sponsored by a number of kind of known people in the firearms industry. So we had a pretty good prize table last time, and we will again this time. So there are prizes. There are trophies for the first 3 finishers of each day that are pretty cool. And, we give away a ton of stuff. The T-shirts are fun. And, overall, it's a good time. We even brought in a bunch of barbecue last time. So just trying to figure out what we're going to do with the food situation this time around. We may have the junior high power team run a concession stand for a fundraiser, give them an opportunity to make some more money. There you go. So, put those kids to work. That's right. That's right. So, yeah, but it's a fun day. I mean, if you consider, and there's camping and there's like a whole thing. So the event happens to operate right across from where there's a public camping facility. So it's like $10 a night to throw a tent out there. There's showers and bathrooms and all that kind of good stuff. So it's pretty much ready made. That was one of the things that attracted us to this venue, and that in addition to the fact that we're able to use it, which is good. Yeah. But, it's sort of a beautiful situation where we've got the city of Crawford has a community center that property borders the ranch that we run the event on, and right across from the community center is this camping ground. So it's a fun kind of get all together type of thing. So for $100, it's money well spent. Well, Dan, this is all really cool, man. How do people stay in touch with Waco Tactical Fitness and stay up to date on when these events are happening and get all that good stuff? Where do you want people to go that are interested in this? Yeah, absolutely. So we're on Facebook. So you can find us on there, Waco Tactical Fitness. We also have a website. It's www.wtfbiathlon.com. And if you go to our website, you can also subscribe to our mailing list. So we periodically send out blast emails to our distribution list, as well as update our Facebook page. Those are probably the two best ways to get in touch with us. And we also have an email address. It's wacotacticalfitness@gmail.com. So that's another way if you have any questions or anybody wants to reach out.
Cool. And what was the website address one more time?
It's WTFbiathlon.com.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for doing what you're doing. It's really cool. Doing it for the kids, that's always a good thing.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for having me, and hopefully we'll see you out there on the course one of these days.
Links, resources, show notes, and other fun stuff can be found by going to intherabbithole.com/E201. Hey, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the show. That way, you don't miss any episodes. Don't forget to visit itrh.net today to find out about the cool Roving Horde Armada membership benefits. We keep the lights on and pay our bills by supporting members just like you. Again, that address is itrh.net. One more time, itrh.net. Visit it today. And with that, we wrap up episode 201 of In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast from the Lone Star State. Till next time, stay safe and sound.